Okay, okay, thank you. So we're back online now. So we have a amendment on the screen. So we have the mover was Glenn, wasn't it? And then Shelley.
Yep.
Shelley then Glenn, I think.
Oh, Shelley then Glenn.
For the original motion.
Yeah.
That was Shelley and me.
Yeah, back Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn Olsen. Yeah, no. Then I amended.
Okay.
And
So
Simon seconded.
right. Okay. So I heard that we wanted to take these separately.
No, not yeah.
Okay, right. So we have our two recommendations there. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Aye. Those against? Thank you, everyone. Right. So we still haven't had a break, and we won't be having one. No, I don't think we can today, thank you. So we'll now move on to 8.2, which is our environmental strategy update. I'll invite Matthew and Gina to come forward, please. So on page 33 is our presentation, or the paper.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Chris is going to lead it.
Yeah. This hopefully is feeling familiar. Follows on from your last meeting where we'd started a discussion around the environment strategy. Today, we are looking to get feedback from you. This is part of the agreed process and progress to get to a point where we have a draft strategy on the back of the decision you made at your last meeting, and that SOF has also considered. So we're now in the implementation mode of that. We are looking for feedback around the table. There'll be more opportunities as we get feedback from you and our other processes. We'll be coming back with a draft strategy and more opportunity to get engaged. You know that eventually it will go to public consultation. We'll get feedback through that process. It will come back round. The reason I'm putting that on the table is this is your first opportunity, not your last. Keen to see whether there's anything that really sticks out that you think is really important or anything you're concerned about to help guide our next step. And on that basis, I'll hand over to Gina and Matt, who are our team working on this at Council.
Thanks, Chris. And as Chris said, this is the first opportunity, and I think what we're looking to get feedback on today is we're really starting to build the framework that we're developing the content on. So this is an early look at what our process looks like underneath that. So, start with the agreed approach. We know that this is a top 10 priority for Council. We talked to you on the 8th of April, and your preferred approach was mapping existing strategic direction to provide clarity and alignment, looking at what we already know about community aspirations, identifying some of those gaps for future work, focusing on growing partnerships, expanding monitoring and understanding things well, not looking to develop the detailed actions underneath until later. We're looking at 2026 for that. SOF agreed to that on the 15th of May, and you can see our indicative time frame there. We are now on the 22nd. The next time this group will hear about this, we're looking to have an open briefing on the 10th of June with a little bit more detail, and also pointing out that on the 17th of June we've scheduled a conversation with Te Whakamenenga o Kapiti, noting how important it is for our mana whenua to be involved in this discussion, and also noting that we've got our final date for strategy completion, which will be the final sign-off date on 18th of September, which is the last possible council date. So just highlighting that we're moving at pace here. Proposed structure should be relatively familiar. It aligns with what we have used for particularly our emissions reduction strategy that we're just going out for engagement on now. But essentially the same. We're keeping it simple. We're having our 4 domains of focus: air quality, biodiversity, land use, and water or ocean health. We're going to keep it to a horizon of 3 to 5 years, be principles based, focusing on the future and what we want to have. And as mentioned, we'll come back in June to talk about some of the content, and particularly we'll be looking at the principles and values. I'll note that we have in the appendix of this presentation, we've got some notes on what our principles development looks like at a high level, and the example of the principles that we've got for our emissions reduction strategy, and some examples of the kinds of values that we know are important, particularly for mana whenua. So you're welcome to have a closer look at those in the appendices, but we won't go into detail on that here. We'll come back and talk about that later. As mentioned, we've got 4 domains of focus. So under our donut model, we have 5 domains under place. We have land use, climate, biodiversity, water and ocean health, and air quality. And as the table will be very well aware, climate, we have a suite of strategies coming through, of which the emissions reduction strategy is the first. Also noting that there are obviously linkages between the climate work and the other domains under place, so we're not going to ignore that as part of the strategy, but we won't go into the detail underneath. See some little notes there. We're one of several actors taking responsibility for the environment, and at all levels government is involved, as well as partners, businesses in our community. Aligned with some of the other strategies that we're working on right now, we're looking at strategies for our community, not just for council, but going into what that means for council and action for us. We don't have all the levers. We need others to be involved to make a big difference. So just to keep in mind as we're stemming this through, this is what we're looking to focus on today and get your feedback on. We have some statements under each of those domains. We want to test fit for purpose for this strategy, so we're happy to get feedback on anything that doesn't resonate. And we'd like you to give us some feedback on what good looks like in the environment, particularly in terms of measurement and progress that we want to make. And are there any gaps in anything that we've got in here, or anything that you know we need to focus on in the strategy development? So getting into the substance, as mentioned before, this is about mapping existing direction. Our overarching direction across all of that as well is Vision Kapiti. That's where we've gone out and we've asked our community what it is that they want to see. We've got lots of feedback under our environmental domains. They are draft. Here we will put them up so you can see them here, but we're looking to test whether you feel that they're fit for purpose for use in this strategy. We will also outline challenges that we have, drivers affecting our current approach, outcomes or aspirations that we're working toward, significant work that's already in place, and any gaps or areas for future work. This will look familiar. We've talked about this before, but just highlighting again, there's a lot of existing direction in this space. What we want to do in this strategy is line that up and make it really clear what we're saying we want to achieve, including some of these are older strategies, even in that local direction space. So just making sure that's up to date with what we've heard is the vision for the future through our Vision Kapiti engagement as well. Vision Kapiti, our North Star, the voice of our community. I think I've probably highlighted the importance that we have there, and so the next slides go into some of the detail on the right side, but just noting that that's what we're using to map our approach to the strategy, sitting across the top of that. So now we're getting into the statements that came through Vision Kapiti. So happy to get your feedback. I might do this slide by slide. That might be the easiest way to do it. We'll work through and we will come back. Biodiversity, what we have said in Vision Carpity is that our current state is that we place high value on our natural environment and strongly support local conservation initiatives. When we build the strategy underneath that, we'll highlight a little bit more what the challenges are and the current regulatory requirements. For shifts we need to make, we've highlighted increasing native planting, strengthening pest control programs, and reducing damaging environmental practices. Underneath that in the strategy, we will highlight current initiatives that are underway and identify gaps or areas for future work. Under the desired future state, we said we want enhanced natural spaces with diverse ecosystems and protected habitats. In the strategy, we will have outcomes and objectives related to that and some measures that we can use to measure our progress. Air quality, current state. I'll say we had very little feedback through Vision Carpity on air quality, which says to us that people are pretty happy with that. We have some concerns about general impacts of development, and obviously there are some implications relating to emissions through the climate space as well. Underneath that, we will highlight the challenges and regulatory requirements. Shifts we need to make. We want to continue to support practices that deliver good air quality. We want to expand our green spaces as well. So again, current initiatives, gaps and areas for future work. For the desired future state, we want really good air quality with minimal pollution. We want sustainable development practices that support this. Again, outcomes and objectives and measures will be developed related to that. Land use, what Vision Carpity has said about current state is that we are concerned about balancing development with the need for housing growth in a way that limits environmental impacts. Again, challenges and regulatory requirements will build in under that. And the shifts that we need to make, we want to implement strategic growth plans, enhance green spaces and protect agricultural and conservation land. We will build in under that current initiatives and gaps and areas for future work. In the desired future state, we want sustainable land use that accommodates growth but preserves our productivity and natural character. Water and ocean health. Current state, we have said we have a strong appreciation for being near to water bodies, seas, the sea, rivers, as well as some concerns about erosion and water quality. Shifts we need to make are looking at improving stormwater management, supporting coastal defences and enhancing water quality. And our desired future state, we want clean, healthy waters with effective management of water use, erosion and flooding. So, circling back to areas of focus and feedback, do the statements for each of these resonate? Do you have any suggested changes for the purposes of including this in our environment strategy? What does good look like to you in these areas? Are there any gaps that we're missing either in that content or that you know really need to be covered in our strategy?
And might just add to that I know that some of the statements that have come from Vision Carpity are currently worded the way they are. We're not asking for feedback on that framing. Today we're focused on substantive in terms of points and related to the I'll call them the areas that Gina and Matt have highlighted underneath the current state. So the challenges, the regulatory requirements under shifts, the current initiatives, gaps, areas for future work, or desired future state outcomes and objectives and measures. Obviously all that detail's not here, but if you think anything's missing in terms of where that go, or even in those shift areas in particular, that would be useful.
Thank you, Gina and Chris and the team have been working on this. So I see that there's a few people have got their lights on. I'm very conscious that Kim is going to leave very shortly, and I'm just wondering whether she would like to make any comments before she leaves or ask any questions.
Hold on, just trying to get my things off. No, I don't have really any questions. I like the way it's tracking, and I would vote. I support the recommendations as well. But I just think we just need to keep going on the progress.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, so now I'll move on to Councillor Deputy Mayor Kirby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was looking at the biodiversity one, particularly the point under the shifts we need to make about reducing damaging environmental practices, and reflected on the hearing that we had the other day from Freedom Camping, and just probably want to highlight that that's probably a piece of work that needs to link pretty closely to this strategy in terms of that bylaw, because so just that's my only comment that would sit there.
Councillor Halliday.
Thank you. I'll be succinct and agree with both the last two speakers. Good point, Lawrence. Just looking at water ocean health in the current state, are we treating the ocean as a water body, just like a lake sort of thing? Is that quite different?
We are, but that doesn't mean we won't be specific about ocean health. So it's not necessarily going to get swallowed up, if that makes sense. Where we have specific direction about ocean health, we'll highlight that.
Okay, that's cool. So it's just captured in there. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Mr. Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, team. Hey, look, my repeated question is that Council does so many functions. How are we resolving this with conflicting resolutions and departments within our council? You know, like development versus don't do development, tourism, like don't do tourism, right? Everything seems to be on priority one and we're doing our own thing. When does our environment take absolute priority over everything?
So I think in terms of the feedback today, we haven't put that into the presentation. The context that this sits within is Vision Carpity. So we've heard from our community about what they want. We'll be working with elected members in the next training around how we start to implement that. These strategies sit underneath Vision Carpity and they're to help guide us. And the reality is balance is needed. So we are making sure that we focus on the environment, on climate, on people, and so that's place and people in terms of housing and economic development, the things that our community has said to us they want us to focus on. So the reality is we make decisions every day where we need to balance those things. These are intended to help us guide. They give us the principles, they give us that pathway that we orient ourselves down that you're helping to set in place. So it doesn't sit by itself. And so there is tension every day. And I think Freedom Camping that was brought up earlier was a classic example of that. You heard from people in the public who were worried about the environment. You heard from people in the public who wanted more of it and saw it as a real opportunity for the community. So it's how we balance it.
And I didn't mention before, but I completely support this kaupapa and I'd like it elevated up the priority list. Thank you.
So thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the comments that you've made because I've been thinking about this as well. So if you look at the page that has levering existing direction but create some clarity, and so online we have this here which is in colour, so you can actually see where our various decision making has involves what can come out of this climate, this environment strategy. So my question is, how will, for example, various decisions that come out of this environment strategy, environment strategy or things that go into it, how are they going to impact these? Does this mean that some of these things like the district plan and our coastal strategy and our stormwater management may have to be changed as well? So they all align with each other as you, talked about alignment.
I'll take a step back. At your last decision point, you determined that you wanted to look at the existing mechanisms that are on the table and to bring those together. This sets out those existing directions that are set. And really what we'll be able to do is come back to you and say, this is the direction that it's pushing things in. You might not agree with that. You might want to change that. And so that would be the next step that we look at, because we would want to line this up, which Gina's just mentioned, to Vision Kapiti, to go, does it line up with what our community has said they want to do, or they'd like to see, or they want to get to by 2060? Sorry. And also, some of these are legislatively set. So there's some things we have to do, and there's some things that we have choice on. So we don't have an overview of what that is at the moment, and this will be the first time that we put that on the table. And that might slightly answer Community Board Member Black's question about the synergy between things. We think we need to understand that before we decide to do stuff.
Thank you for those comments, and I suppose I'd like to thank the staff for the speed at which they've taken up this piece of work to get us to where we are now, and I suppose the timeline that we have moving forward, and ideally we will reach it, but we'll have to see how that goes. So one thing before I move on to the recommendations, I just want you to note that, I think now I've lost it. Oh yes, paragraph 9, because we're actually moving at pace on this strategy, this is not going to come back to this committee again. It's going to go to SOF and to council, but it'll be really critical for me to keep you up to date as to how things are progressing, and so that you can provide other ways to actually feed into this once we go down the track. So I see that there's no more lights on, so we'll now move to the recommendations, which are on page 33. That we note the committee provided feedback on this about how we've got to where we are, and so the 3 things there. So I'd like a mover, if I can, please. Christian, thank you. A seconder for that? Simon? Any discussion? No discussion, so then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour of these recommendations? Aye. Against? Passed. Thank you. Thank you again very much to staff for the work that you've done up to this point in time, and no doubt the work that will continue to get this over the line. Thank you. Thank you. So now we'll move on to item 9, which is confirmation of our minutes. These are on page 40 of our agenda. So can I have a mover of the recommendations this is the meeting of the 8th of April, that they are true and correct? Shelley? I'll make sure you're there first.
Yeah, she was. Yep.
Oh, Glenn Olsen. Who was seconding? Okay, so we have a seconder? Mr. Black? Any, all in favour? Against? The recommendations are passed. So now we will move on to our close and karakia. May blessings be upon us all and our businesses be successful, so that our words endure, our language endures, may the spirit be strong, may Māori be settled and in balance among the activities we do today. Join, gather and unite, forward together. Thank you very, very much everyone for your input. good conversations and discussions, and for other members of our council who have come along to this committee today, and to the staff who have supported us to getting us to this meeting and getting us through it. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.